Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to our 9th Summer 2020 update. So here we go again, it's Sunday and it's time to bring you another long range update. This week we're going to be bringing you the 9th Summer update. I'm focusing on ENSO this week and also making up for what happened last week. More about that in a moment. It means we've got a bumper edition for you. So we've got 75 open tabs here, got a lot to get through. And we're going to be here for some time. This is almost sort of reaching winter update type levels. So get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a comfy chair. You know, we will be here for quite some time. And I shall explain what we're doing in a moment. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in on this Sunday morning. Just say that the Thursday release today was our nice little 7 a.m. upload. So it's a different format with that. Let me know in the comments what you think to a slightly changed format with the 4-minute forecast. And also got GavsWeatherVids Sunny Roundup coming up for you round or just after lunch. We'll be live streaming from 6 o'clock. That's Sunny live stream, so of course it will be focusing on the long range. A busy old day at GavsWeatherVids today. I shall see you live at 6 o'clock. Thank you so much to Shryan for all of the help on this update. Shryan's been absolutely fantastic throughout the summer updates, as he always is, and with this summer update as well. So thank you so much to Shryan for sorting out all of the years, both in terms of our pattern matches we're going to start with, and also in terms of our ENSO years that we're going to see a little bit later on. And also thank you, of course, to Richard Truitt for a fantastic summer 2021 updates gift, going zoom down to the beach, and I could do with it, I have to say. You're only going to see that once more next week, and then that's it. That's it for the gift. But it's given us a laugh, hasn't it? We've enjoyed this year's summer 2020 updates gift. So thank you so much to Rich, and thank you so much, of course, to Shryan as well. Now, there's not going to be a written version to this update. The website is no longer updated. However, you will be able to watch the video on demand. It's within the summer 2020 updates playlist on YouTube, so you'll be able to come into YouTube and watch it whenever you would like to do that. And yeah, so that's it. I think I better get on with it because we've got a lot to get through with this one. So I'm going to disappear for a little while, but I'll be back later on to turn off the webcam. Right, so here we go then. As I said, we started with April 2021 pattern matching. Now, you know what happened last week. That was a software failure that kind of forced my hand with having to set up a new computer. I'm so pleased that it's a good thing, really, actually. I'm so pleased that it forced my hand because it's gone absolutely fantastically well setting up the new PC and upgrading the software. So I hope everybody's enjoying the upgraded software, everything in high definition and looking so bright and working so well. So yeah, that's gone absolutely fantastically fine. But it meant that last week we couldn't show you our April 21 pack matches because I had to record video. Again, it's very late, so I had sort of half the data that we could show in that 8th update, so we can only show you the QBO data. But I said we'd have a look at it this week, so this is it. This is how April 2021's 500 millibar height anomaly comes out. Of course, it was a cold month via northern blocking, so it has this big area of above average heights in North Atlantic going up to green. It has a trough of low pressure over northern and western and central Europe, and bring down northerly winds, of course. But it's relatively dryish month because you've got this ridge extending in from Greenland into the UK and Ireland. It's quite a strange pattern, that. But there are a few years that we've picked out that have a similarity. Remember, with pattern matches, they don't really form the part of the summer forecast. Why do I say winter forecast then? Why do I do that? Gav! I'm in winter mode already. Or maybe I haven't come out of it yet because it's been so cold. No, the pattern matches don't really form part of the summer forecast because it's subjective, you see. So it's just a subjective opinion. But it is interesting to go through these. So let's have a look then. Please let me know in the comments which years you think are the closest matches to April 2021's pattern. Right, so first year that Shrine's picked out for us is 1852. Again, we've got we have the above average heights to our north extending down into the UK. There's a trough over northern Europe as well, and a trough in the Atlantic. Let's have a look at those two then. So yeah, I can see the similarity there, actually. I can see quite a good match, I think, with 1852. Next, we have 1861. Again, we've got this ridge in the Atlantic extending into UK and up to Greenland as well. A trough of low pressure is across northern Europe. Winds are going to be in from the north, but it will be relatively dry with that ridge into the west of Europe. Low pressure in the Atlantic, not able to bring its rain-bearing systems, being blocked by an area of high pressure. And again, I can definitely see the similarity there. You will never get a complete 100% like-for-like match, so just looking to the closest. This is next year that we found is 1871, April 1871. Again, with this ridge of above average heights to our west and northwest, extending into the UK. Low pressure, a little bit deeper though, with this one across northern and also West Europe and in the Atlantic. And I don't think the block is quite back to Greenland as much. So I'm not quite as keen on that one, but there is definitely a similarity. Then we've got 1881. So this one, again, with the above average heights extending up to Greenland and down into the UK and Ireland. Low pressure is to our northeast and in the Atlantic. Winds will be coming in from a cold northerly source. Again, I think we can see the similarity between April 2021 and April 1881. Please let me know in the comments which years you think are the closest matches. Then we go through to April 1956. A long gap then before we find another one that's close to this April. This one, again, with the mid-Atlantic ridge going up to Greenland. Trough of low pressure across northern and West Europe. But trough of low pressure is much deeper and into the UK with that one. So I'm less keen on 1956, but that's just my subjective opinion. Do you like 1956 as a pattern match? Let me know. Next one we've got from Shrine, of course, is from 1973. This one, again, mid-Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland, trough of low pressure to our east-northeast, winds in from the north. Yeah, just a little bit closer with that trough of low pressure, but you can see a similarity. Low pressure again in the Atlantic being blocked from making its progress into the UK. Again, I can see a similarity there. We've got April 1998. So this one, again, the ridge down into the UK, extending to our north. Low pressure being blocked out in the Atlantic. Another trough in over Scandinavia. Winds in from a northerly direction. That was quite a cold April after a mild winter in 1988. Again, there's definitely a similarity. I don't think the blocking is going quite up as extensively up to Greenland, though, in 1988. Then we've got 1995. April 1995 looks like that. Again, does have blocking in around the Greenland area and into the Arctic. Extends down towards the UK and Ireland. Low pressure over Scandinavia and also out in the Atlantic. I quite like that one, actually. I think there is a definite similarity between those two. I do quite like April 1995. April 1997 is the next one. So again, a ridge of high pressure to our west and not quite as much to the northwest though. So it is a little bit more centrally located over the country. It's quite a warm April because of that. You know, it wasn't pulling in as much of a northerly wind in April 1997 as we did this year. So April 1997 is actually a dry and warm month rather than being a dry and cold month. But again, there is a similarity. You'll never get a complete like-for-like match, but I'm a little bit less keen on that one. And then the last one that Shrine picked out for us is April 2020. So this one, again, it's a warm, dry month with the high pressure sort of through the north and west of Europe, not extending up towards Greenland. So the northerly as much. So the northerly with that is sort of going into the northeast of Europe. Similar, yes, but with subtle differences that make an important difference in terms of the overall temperature. Not as much focus with the blocking around Greenland. Again, please let me know in the comments which years you think are the closest pattern pattern matches to April 2021. Right, let's have a look at those summers then. So this is the first one that we started with. This is the summer of 1852, following the April pattern match of 1852. This is a very cold and wet summer. Deep trough low pressure is parked over top of the UK and Ireland. Lots of blocking as well. So a cold, wet summer to start us off. Then we have the summer of 1861. Again, this one is a very wet summer. Deep low pressure over the UK and Western Europe. If it can go wrong, it has gone wrong. In the next summer, we've got 1873 for our April pattern matches. This one also looks very unsettled. Oh dear, dear, dear. Low pressure is over, and to the west of the country in comes the westerly jet stream. That's another cool and wet summer. The summer of 1881 is just as bad, if not worse, with again deep low pressure over the UK and Northern Europe. And they have that long gap through to 1956, and this is one of the worst summers of the 20th century, actually. It's up there with 1912, certainly one of the worst Augusts of the 20th century anyway, when you can see why. Look at that massive trough of low pressure engulfing Europe. It's an absolutely dreadful summer and an appalling August. 1956 follows that April 2021 pattern match. Next summer is 1973. It's the first one that's a little bit more anti-cyclonic. It's not a particularly exciting summer, but it is a rather drier summer with some higher pressure in northern and western parts of Europe. It's quite a coolish, sort of nondescript, rather banal sort of summer, but at least it's not a washout like we've seen with some of those previous. Then we've got 1988. This is another really bad summer, has one of the worst Julys of the 20th century, with deep low pressure again extending through the west of Europe. It does pick up a little bit in August, but it's a pretty bad summer overall, and particularly notoriously bad in July of 1988. But then look at this. Picking it all up, rather unexpectedly, is 1995. This is a very hot and dry summer. Out of nowhere, we have 1995 following that April 2021 pattern match. It's very similar in type to 1976, the daddy of hot summers. It's not quite reaching daddy standards, because although it is actually a drier summer than 1976, it's not quite as hot. Nevertheless, it is one of the best summers of the 20th century. It's probably the best, most consistent anyway, summer of my lifetime, since I was born 1 year after 76. And there it is. So we've got a classic hot drought summer also within this package of analogues. I have another hot summer for 1997. This one much more unsettled, yes. Quite a wet summer, very thundery August, very volatile August. Has a lot of easterly winds that become very hot into August. August 1997 is one of the hottest on record. Only 1995, August 1995, is hotter. And then lastly, we've got the summer of 2020. This one is a very bizarre summer with like a shallow trough over the UK, but lots of high pressure surrounding us. So last summer had regular heat waves, but also regular bouts of wind and rain. If it could happen, it did happen last summer. But we had some very hot weather at times, especially so in the south, of course. Later in July and through to early August was particularly hot. Right, so let's start putting all of that together. This is how all Junes combined are looking following our April 2021 pattern matches. So we tend to have an area of high pressure over Scandinavia and bring in quite hot easterly winds, or potentially warm easterly winds, I suppose, as it's June. Could be hot from the east in June, but let's say warm. Low pressure is to our south, so it does imply quite a volatile sort of pattern is likely. Regular bouts of rain, especially for England and Wales, and potentially quite thundery as well. All Julys combined just look cool to cold and wet, really. Deep low pressure over and to the west of the country. We lose that easterly influence. We're back into the westerlies, and they're cool and wet. All August combined, not much better either with our April pattern matches. Again, very, very unsettled indeed. Deep low pressure in from the Atlantic into northern and western Europe. A wet and cool August. And all summers combined are looking like that. So about as bad as it gets, really. Deep trough low pressure extending down western side of Europe. Very cool and wet for those summers. Let's just narrow things down to look at the years after 1950. So this is how all Junes combined looking following our April pattern matches post 1950. And much more anticyclonic signals, so these Junes could be pretty good, actually, if you like dry and warm weather, with plenty of high pressure from the Atlantic into northern Europe. Winds tend to be in from the east as well. So, yeah, a dry and potentially warm, even very warm perhaps, start to these summers. Same can't be said for July. This is how all Julys combined are looking following our April pattern matches. And again, deep low pressure is engulfing much of Western Europe. There's high pressure within the northern latitudes as well. So a cold and wet signal, or a cool and wet signal anyway, for those Julys. All August combined, sort of forcing the trough low pressure away to our west and raising the heights a little bit towards the country. Could start to pull wind into the southeast. Bear in mind, this is combining 1956, which is just about the worst August of the 20th century, with 1995, which is the hottest and driest August of the 20th century. So they're probably offsetting one another to some degree. And then this is how all summers combined are looking with our pattern matches. So again, we tend to have high pressure up towards Scandinavia. Low pressure tends to be towards our south. Winds tend to be in from an easterly direction. So could be relatively warmish sort of signal. A little bit concerning what's happening in July, I have to say. But June and also August potentially don't look as bad. Again, it's all sort of for fun, this. It's very subjective, you know, so it doesn't particularly form part of our summer forecast overall, because it's a subjective opinion as to which years are the closest matches. But they're always interesting to have a look at, and you know, provide a conversation and whatnot, and interest. So again, let me know in the comments which years you think are the closest in terms of those pattern matches. Right, so how long have we been talking for so far? Let's have a look. So we've been talking for 17 minutes. I'm going to pause the video there. When we return, we're going to be looking at ENSO. So we'll be looking at La Nina and all of that sort of stuff. More in a moment, but you get yourself a cup of tea, stretch your legs, and I shall see you in around 2 seconds' time. Okay, we're back, and there we are. We're ready to resume the 9th and penultimate summer 2021 update from GavsWeatherVids. So before the break, we was looking at our April pattern matches. We were supposed to show you those last week, but there was a software failure that meant I was unable to, but we have now showed you them. So that's those out of the way. We're going to progress on now and have a look at ENSO. If you're enjoying this ninth summer 2020 update, then please smash your like button. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel as well. And thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, let's turn off the webcam then, and we're going to progress. Let's progress on. So we're going to be looking at ENSO. Of course, ENSO is the cyclical warming and cooling of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. We've just been through a La Nina. Of course, this is the area we're talking about just here. Sea surface temperatures from Peru in South America, just there, to Indonesia over here. Whoops. There. Right, so just been through a La Nina. That's where I have a cold event, so colder than average sea surface temperature is stretched out along the equatorial Pacific Ocean. You can see that has pretty much unraveled, and most of those sea surface temperature anomalies now are back to around average. So the La Nina signal has faded as we've gone into the spring, as would typically be the case, of course. This is the cold and warm episodes by season chart from NCP, CPC, and also NOAA as well. So this is showing or depicting all ENSO events going back to 1950. Shrine has actually gone further back than that, though. No, all you can see is back 1950. But particularly through the Solar Oscillation Index, it is possible to work out, ENSO events going right way back into the 1800s. But I won't go in depth into that for this video because it's not really relevant. Right then, so of course, we're going back to ENSO neutral, and that's like a typical thing to happen. So let's look at 1950, first year we see, for example. So we begin 1950 with these negative blue numbers here in these boxes. Those are cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies. So it's a moderate landing event that we have in the winter of 1949-1950. At its peak, it goes down to minus 1.5. That temperature anomaly. So that is a moderate La Nina type event. You notice that as we go into the summer months, the La Nina sort of fades. The numbers become less negative. And we go back to black later on in the summer as we return to ENSO neutral. Albeit on the cool side of ENSO neutral, but we return back to ENSO neutral for the winter of 1950-1951. And that's a very typical thing to happen. La Nina just returning back to ENSO neutral, and so the summer is like an ENSO neutral type summer following La Nina. So that's like the first thing we're going to look at with our analogs. So we're looking at La Nina to ENSO neutral summers, like the classic thing you would expect to happen. You can get a deviation, though. We'll talk about it in a moment. Something a little bit different can happen. But generally, 9 times out of 10, after a La Nina event, same true for El Nino as well, after a La Nina event, you will tend to go back to ENSO neutral in the summer. So the first year that does this, goes from La Nina to ENSO neutral, is the summer of 1873. This one, very, very unsettled summer, deep low pressure over to west of the country, income westerlies. So a cool and wet summer to start us off in 1873. The next summer is 1876, that's going from Nina to neutral. This one is a more anticyclonic summer with high pressure across northern and western Europe. Low pressure is out in the Atlantic. That's a rather drier and potentially rather warmer summer as well in 1876. The next summer that goes from Nina to neutral is 1887. This one is a cool summer with high pressure out to our west. Winds tend to be in from a northerly direction. That's a cooler, drier sort of summer. Very active hurricane season in 1887. And later on in the summer, I think we do start getting impacted by those summers, but by those hurricanes, remnants, I suppose, extratropical remnants. But for much of the summer, it's actually a relatively coolish and quite dryish sort of summer in 1887. Next, that's going from Nina to neutral is 1890. This is a very, very wet summer indeed, with deep low pressure across not just UK but much of northern Europe as well. So that's a really wet and unsettled summer. Then we have the summer of 1894. This is a cool, wet summer as well, with deep low pressure in from the Atlantic into northern Europe. It is in combination with some northern blocking as well. So that is a very wet and cool summer in 1894. Quite a long gap then before we do Nina to neutral again, and we come to the summer of 1921. This is a more anticyclonic summer with higher pressure centred over and just to the west of the country, so that's much more of a high pressure signal, a much drier summer in 1921. Next summer going from Nina to neutral is 1934. This one with a northern blocking extending back into the Arctic, low pressure across northern and western Europe. Winds are in from an easterly direction with that one. So that hasn't some quite hot weather, though, I think. I think it does have some quite hot weather during the summer of 1934. There's like 3 summers that aren't too bad, actually. 1932, 1933, and 1934, I think, all have, possibly even to some degree, 1935. There's quite a run of pretty good summers, if you like warm, drier weather, in the early to middle 1930s. I mean, it all very quickly goes downhill in the second half of the 1930s as we approach much colder times. This is indicative of that. This is the summer of 1939. Next time we're going from Nina to neutral. So with this one, we tend to get blocking to our north, low pressure to our south. So this is a much more unsettled summer, and it's a lot cooler as well in 1939. 1943, in the middle of the Second World War, is quite an unsettled summer as well. It's going from La Nina to ENSO neutral. Quite a bit of low pressure involved with that one. Meant a really long gap, surprisingly so, through to 1985. The next time we have a La Nina that goes to ENSO neutral is the summer of 1985. This one is a cold and wet summer. Deep low pressure again over the UK. That's a very, very bad summer in 1985. There's a long run of really bad summers through the middle to later 80s. 4 of them, and that's the first of them in 1985. This is a better one that's going from La Nina to ENSO neutral. This is 1989 with higher pressure to our west-southwest, lower pressure is up to the north. That's a much drier and hotter, so it has a hot July in 1989. And then we've got the summer of 1996, which again has some higher pressure over and to the west of the country, but also low pressure to the north. That's a very mixed summer. Does have some quite warm weather in there, some regular sort of brief hot spells, but also protracted spells of cool and unsettled weather. It's one of those summers that's very mixed. So if you like your summers mixed and changeable and everything going on, then that's a summer for you. I have fond memories of the summer of 1996. Summer 2001 shows up next, going from Nina to neutral. This one is an unsettled summer, low pressure to the north, winds in from the Atlantic. There is some quite warm weather, though, at times in the summer of 2001. There are some heat waves, but overall it is quite a mixed summer. And then the last one that's going from La Nina to ENSO neutral is the summer of 2012, where we have extensive northern blocking and we have a deep trough of low pressure over the north and west of Europe. It's our last true sort of washout summer, so it's nearly 10 years ago now, 9 years this year, since we had our last true sort of washout summer. It's the summer of 2012. It did go from Nina to neutral, and it does form part of our analogues. Right, let's put all of that together then. This is how all Junes combined are looking, going from La Nina to ENSO neutral. So some higher pressure to our west, some lower pressure to the north. Winds tend to be in from a westerly direction. It's quite a strange sort of pattern, but probably does offer some drier weather at times. All Julys combined, going from Nina to neutral with deep low pressure over and to the north of the country. Very cool and unsettled signal for all Julys combined, Nina to neutral. Quite cool as well. All August combined, going from Nina to neutral, deep trough of low pressure over the UK and Western Europe. The summer deteriorates clearly to much more of a low pressure dominated signal as we go along. And then all summers combined, going from Nina to neutral, is very unsettled, and surprisingly, after that slightly drier start in June, it goes rapidly downhill, and so a cool, wet summer is favoured when we go from Nina to neutral. Let's just narrow things down to look at Nina to neutral post 1950, and actually the Junes get worse. This is all Junes combined, going from La Nina to ENSO neutral post 1950. So much more unsettled signal. Massive surprise, isn't it? You expect, like in the modern era, the dunes would get better, but actually no, that's not the case. These dunes tend to be even worse with low pressure across much of northern and west Europe. Does the July's getting better? Actually, they do a little bit. So we tend to set up a ridge just out to our west with these Julys with low pressure to the north, and so we're aligned with actually northwest southeast, so it's quite a cool signal to these Julys, but at least it's not sort of a washout. That would be a little bit drier, albeit rather cool and changeable. No difference for all August combined, going from linear to neutral post 1950 with deep low pressure over the UK and Western Europe as well. And then finally all summers combined, going from La Nina to ENSO neutral post 1950, very unsettled, deep low pressure across the north and west of Europe. So an unsettled summer favoured overall, albeit July could be a little bit drier. Right, and at that point, we're going to pause the video there because we've got one more batch of analogues to show you when we return, and then we're done for this 9th update. So I'll pause the video there, and I shall see you in around 2 seconds. Okay! I'm so sorry, everybody. What was that? What was that? What was that? I don't know. We're back, and we're ready to resume the 9th and penultimate Summer 2021 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you're enjoying the video, please like, share, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think. So where we left off, we was looking at summers that are going from La Nina to ENSO neutral. We've done and dusted. We've just got one more batch of analogues to show you, and we'll do that for you right now. So here we go again then. Let's do this. So back to the Cold and Warm episodes by season page at CPC, NCEP, and NOAA. So we've established that the most common sort of occurrence after both La Nina and El Nino is to go back to ENSO neutral. Really, for the summer, such as we do here in 1950. We start off with La Nina, it fades out, it goes back to black, we go back to ENSO neutral. What can happen very occasionally, very rarely this, is that we go from La Nina straight to an El Nino. Very uncommon for that to happen, but it can happen occasionally, such as this scenario here for 1971 to 1972. So you see that 1971 has a La Nina all year. It just carries on into the start of 1972, like winter 71, 72. Through late winter into spring, we go back to black, go back to ENSO neutral, and then very rapidly, through the summer of 1972, we start flipping into an El Nino. So that does happen sometimes. That was a very strong El Nino as well, by the way. Reached over 2 degrees at its peak, so almost Super Nino type levels, just short of it. So that does happen occasionally. It's very unusual, very uncommon. We don't think that's going to happen this time. I wouldn't completely rule it out, but you know, I don't think a change from La Nina to El Nino is at all likely this summer. So we're not going to look at that. The other thing that can happen, though, and this is perhaps a little bit more likely this year compared to some years, I think, is just that La Nina comes back again. So you have like back-to-back La Nina events. So let's try and find a year when that happened. Well, we can see it just here actually. We've got 73, 74. You see how we go into the La Nina through 1973. We begin, of course, 1973 with that strong El Nino. Very quickly flips into a La Nina. And so, yes, we go from El Nino to La Nina during the summer and autumn of 1973. We have that La Nina through 73, 74 during the winter. But it does not fade out. It just carries on, actually. We keep the La Nina going through through the summer of 74. It does fade a little bit there and then comes back again. It's actually like a triple crown type La Nina event going on for 3 years. So that can happen sometimes, and so the second batch of analogues we're going to look at is when we get back-to-back La Niñas. So let's say that we just keep the La Niña going, but it has more or less faded away. It might come back very quickly through this summer. It's not all that common for this to happen, but it does happen sometimes. As I say, occasionally it will go on into like a third year as well. Right, so the first summer that we've got here, which is a back-to-back La Niña summer, is a summer of 1879. So this is an exceptionally cold and wet summer, part of an extremely cold year, loads of northern blocking. Of course, this is the last time we had a central temperature for a year, underneath 8 degrees in the 7 Celsius bracket. So the summer of 1879 forms part of what is an extremely cold year, and it is a very, very cold and wet summer. Our next summer that's got a back-to-back La Niña is the summer of 1893. This one again with northern blocking extending around Greenland, low pressure to our south. This is a warmer summer though, despite the northern blocking. It has a very warm spring. The summer is rather more changeable, but does have some warm weather at times. The next summer, that's like a double dip La Niña, if you like, is a summer of 1909. This one with a mid-Atlantic ridge, low pressure to our east. This is following a cold winter. It's quite a cool and wet summer as well in 1909. Summer of 1917 is exceptionally wet and really, really cold and wet in August of 1917. Of course, middle of the First World War, coming to the end of the First World War, the trenches were flooded. And, you know, we hear a lot about trench foot and so on. That is, you know, a lot of that happens during this extremely wet summer of 1917. Follows a severely cold winter as well, and it is a back-to-back La Niña summer. Our next summer is 1950. That's a back-to-back La Niña summer. This one very wet, low pressure in off the Atlantic, cool wet summer for 1950. Then we have the summer of 1955, which is a much hotter summer. This is the first one we're seeing with big high pressure over northern and western Europe, and in come those easterly winds. So that is a hotter and dry summer in 1955, almost like a classic summer, really. I think it's a bit mixed for June, but July and August of 1959 are real classic hot, dry months. You've got the summer of 1971. Next, this one is a cooler, wetter summer, significantly so that's rather bad summer. And we've got the summer of 1974, we just looked about, of course, with the CPC page. This one is exceptionally wet and cool summer as well in 1974. We have the summer of 1984. We've left out like the third year. So if we was to have like a 3-year La Niña, then next year we would look at like 1975, for example. But that is very uncommon to get 3 back-to-back La Niña years. So the next year for a back-to-back La Niña is 1984. This one with high pressure over to western country. It's quite a hot summer there, but it is overshadowed greatly by 1983. Next summer is 1999, but it's a back-to-back La Niña summer. This one is rather strange. Summer low pressure centered over the country, high pressure up here and also over there as well. A little bit similar in type to 2020, I suppose, in that there is significant hot weather during the summer of 1999, but also protracted periods of cool and wet weather. Does have quite a hot July with a 70 Celsius plus CET. And then we've got the summer of 2008. This is a cold, wet summer, a cool, wet summer. Lots of northern blocking with this one combined again with low pressure over west of Europe. And our last summer, that is a back-to-back La Niña summer, is 2011, and this one again is a very unsettled and cool summer with low pressure over UK combined with high pressure blocking within high latitude. It's an unsettled and cool summer. Right, let's put all that together. So all June combined are looking when we have a back-to-back La Nina. It's an unsettled signal for these Junes with deep low pressure over Western Europe in combination with high pressure blocking around Greenland. A cold, wet June to start us off. All Julys combined also looking very unsettled and cool with high pressure again blocking in northern latitudes, low pressure across northern and Western Europe. Clearly those Julys are favouring cool, wet weather. Hardly any better for all August combined, either with deep low pressure over and to the west of the country. All summers combined, following back-to-back La Nina La Ninas is very unsettled with deep low pressure over the UK. Let's just narrow things down. Look at the years after 1950. So this is how all Junes combined are looking following back-to-back La Nina La Ninas post 1950. I'm getting a bit tired now. It's getting late. We've got high pressure blocking to our north around Greenland and the Arctic. Low pressure is over the UK. So a cold and wet signal continued for those Junes. All Julys combined get a lot better though. You want some dry weather. Not particularly warm, I don't think, but does start to favour some higher pressure ridging in from the north. So it will bring in like northeasterly winds. So probably quite a coolish sort of temperature signal, but significantly drier for those Julys following back-to-back La Ninas post 1950. And then all August combined back to unsettled weather, ready with low pressure over and just to the west of the country. Some high pressure towards Scandinavia might bring up some warm air at times, but the main thing is going to be about low pressure, which is a deep trough, and will favour a very unsettled month. Finally, all summers combined, following back-to-back La Ninas post-1950. It's an unsettled signal overall, with low pressure over the country. High pressure is blocking in northern latitudes around Greenland and back into the Arctic. So overall, these summers can be expected to be unsettled and cool, albeit there is a dry up into perhaps favoured for July. And we are done with our epic 9th summer 2021 update. So what did you make of that, everybody? Let me know in the comments what you think. We're more or less at the end now of our summer update. So we've just got one more to bring you next week. We're going to try and bring you some May data with that one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that works out. So yeah, May data next week, and then that's going to be it. You know, that'll be it, the end of the journey, and all that remains the following week, which is going to be the 30th of May, I think, is to bring you the GavsWeatherVids.com. No, GavsWeatherVids. I can't say GavsWeatherVids.com because I'm not updating the website now. So it's just a GavsWeatherVids Summer 2021 forecast. I've got to get used to that, haven't I? It's a big change. Big change. You know, losing the website, and I have not got my head around it yet. I don't think so. That was a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a slip, wasn't it? And it just goes to show I've still not got used to not having the website. Right, okay, I'm off on a tangent. So sorry about that, everybody. Right, we're done. Gav's done. So that's it. We're going to be back later on with GavsWeatherVids. We'll be live streaming from 6 p.m. So I shall see you then live. But for the 9th summer 2020 update at an epic 40 minutes, wow, longest summer update by far. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.